If you're not on my newsletter yet, there should be a link and all that kind of stuff in the description here of the YouTube channel. You can sign up and get my weekly emails for other interviews, other workshops that I do, and eventually I will be doing some of these online workshops live as well, so you'll be able to join me. Just working myself up to that. So yeah, if you want to find out all the things that I'm doing and who I'm talking to, what interviews I'm doing, what topics I'm talking about, please feel free. Please subscribe, like, comment, all those things. So I'm very excited about today's topic because I have been asked about this particular topic so many times. That when I was thinking, well, what should I talk about today? It was instantly. And, I guess I'm often talking about my spirit team in many of my other videos. If ever you've watched other videos on this channel or heard me talking, or if you're a client or I've had done a retreat with you, whatever it is, you would always hear me talking about the guidance that I get from my spirit team, um, or my guides, or, whatever. So first of all, let's just cover a few things for everyone in the world out there who might be watching. Everyone in the world. Wow. So first of all, I refer to my guidance as my spirit team. I didn't do that from day dot. I didn't do that, early days in the beginning. My early days in the beginning, you could say, were from probably mid 30s onwards, which is 20 years now, right? 20 years ago. Um, so from then, it was very much, intuitive responses, or things that were just like, I really have to do this. I don't know why. I'm just going to do it because it feels worse if I don't do it, even though I'm really not sure why I'm doing this, that kind of stuff. So I would come and not those kinds of decision-making processes um, would not happen all the time. That would be big ones. Other things would just be intuitive things that I'd be like, maybe I should leave now, right? I need to leave for that appointment now. It's earlier than normal, but I feel like I need to leave. And then if I didn't do that, I'd get stuck in something and I'd be like, damn, I know I should have left. Stuff like that, right? That's how we consider our intuition. The reason why I'm going through this first up is because people get hung up on names and what we call stuff. And really, in the scheme of the spirit world, they don't care. Nobody cares what they get called. It's a very human naturistic thing because it triggers our belief systems. It triggers our old patterns. We have different ideas of what language words mean in other cultures, in other religions, in other ways. So until you're in a place where none of that matters to you anymore, which it all used to matter to me as well, I get it now. I don't really care. And I call them a spirit team because they literally are my team of spirit people. So that's what they're known, but I didn't know that in the beginning, right? So if the whole spirit world is a new concept to you, then maybe saying you have a spirit team is a little bit too far-fetched for your brain right now to put into a spot, and you're not kind of resonating with that. Totally okay. Then we can go with your intuitive feel, or your heart center talking to you, or your higher self. Maybe you can go to the fact that you've stepped into this kind of new realm. You get that there's something out there bigger than yourself. You can't go back to the idea of nothingness, that you're just a human doing a thing. You get that there's a bigger consciousness, that there's a world that's unknown to you, perhaps. Maybe you're somewhere in there and you're still kind of trying to work out how to navigate. It's all good. You're in the right place. I'm really going to help you. There's no judgment here of whatever you call anything. And I'm saying this because it's important for you to know that there are many, many, many people out there that have an idea of what things should be and could be and are named and all this kind of stuff. Really, it's whatever works for you. Okay. Your higher self, it absolutely could be your higher self. We all have a higher self. We all have a bigger version of us that doesn't fit into this little human body, and it's still kind of floating around up there, being able to have way better connection to the cosmos and the higher consciousness than we currently do. Um, because once we're in this human dense body, all our frequencies and vibrations change, makes it very challenging for us to hear that higher realm, which is what this is all about. Okay, that's literally what I want to talk about today. So, yeah, so if you want, if higher self is a better kind of terminology for you to think, how do I listen to my higher self? How do I communicate with my higher self and know the difference between whether it's just me talking to myself and my chatter brain, or just an idea that popped into my head that is like dumb, or no, don't listen to that because that's just coming from your little scaredy ego that we have to give hugs to all the time because it's trying to rule things. That's a whole nother workshop, right? Or is it like I said, is it a spirit team? And I'll talk about what a spirit team kind of looks like. For me, remember, this is my work that I've learnt over the years of learning over and over and over how to communicate with them better, and they have taught me. But it's also teachings from other people who been in that kind of world most of their life and have taught me different things, and also my teachers, and also my spirit team itself that I've, through the wonders of psychedelics, plant medicine, and other trance meditative states, I've met them and have found ways to make sure they're the right ones, they're in it for my highest good, all that stuff. These are all the things that come up when you're like, I don't know whether I'm ready to start talking to invisible beings. Like, how do I know that they're good ones? How do I know I'm not listening to crazy ones? Especially because in some of the beliefs in some religious doctrine, some that I was heavily raised in, so I had to get past all of this as well. They have concepts where anything in the unseen world is bad for you. They're all demons trying to coerce you. Now, if you've been following me for a while or watch any of my videos, you know that I have very big experience with entities and dealing with those sorts of things. So for me, I really get it. I really get the importance of protecting yourself, understanding that the spirit world is open to all things, but then also resonating with the things that are closest to you that are here for your absolute highest good. Like they're literally on this path with you. They have dedicated themselves through your lifetime to help you on the right path, help you with the different choices, help you gain the most out of this soul lesson that you are here on earth at this time for right now. They're like so invested in you getting to the finish line with as much of your soul experience that you signed up for. And obviously, that's going to help you 100% more if you're able to listen and communicate with them, then having no clue when they've got to try and, drop little hints and bits and bobs for you and hope that you'll somehow pick it up from, you know, um, someone who's passed by and says something to you and you're like, "Oh, maybe I should do that." Those kind of ways, which are ways, but it's actually a lot easier if you can just communicate with them. Easier for both, right? For them and for you. So, what have I covered? I have to be careful because I ramble and I don't script any of this. So, and I've kind of definitely called in my spirit team. They're very excited because, as you can imagine, if you think about it, if spirit teams and spirit guides are assigned to you, or it's your higher self, or it's your angels, or like I said, whatever you feel most comfortable with, please insert into that. Um, you can imagine they're going to be anyone who's watching this. I would say that you have some kind of curiosity. You're in some place where you'd like to be able to communicate for yourself better, perhaps, maybe rather than having to rely on other people all the time. Going for readings and stuff like that. Nothing against that, they're great. But if you start to be able to communicate yourself really well, then you kind of don't need that. Um, the last few readings that I went to, I I literally had the person saying to me, they're kind of telling me that you know all this because this is what they tell you. And I'm like, yeah, I sort of do, but I guess I just wanted some validation. And that's totally okay. They're not going to, yeah, okay, I'll back up first before I go into how they speak to you. Sorry. I just have so much that I want to explain. Also, feel free, this is on YouTube, obviously. So if questions and things come up, please leave them in the comments. Please subscribe if you haven't already, like all that kind of stuff. But if you leave questions in the comments, I can always come back and answer any questions in the comment section. Also, if there's other topics that you'd like to hear about, or an expansion on this topic, please let me know because I'd be happy to do that. Okay, so what is your spirit team, guide, um, people? This idea that we might have invisible people following us around, watching over us all the time could kind of be a bit creepy, and it's really not like that. I used to get a bit hung up on that too. I'm like, I always feel like I'm being watched. Well, that's not how it is. So I say spirit team because I know I have more than one, but that's not the same for everyone. Sometimes, and it hasn't always been the same for me. At different times in my life, there will be different amounts of people, or I say people, there will be different spirit guides helping me because of different stages of my life that I need to learn different things. So there's different levels of experience. And sometimes it could be ancestors, it can be old family members that have stepped in to say, oh, I really want to help take her through this, or this is something I was experienced in, and they will sign up for certain parts of the process. Um, so and I guess if you're wondering, how do I know all this? I've been shown this and directed it in different ways, through different visions, through dreams, through specific processes of when I've actually been taken to meet my guides, which was ridiculously dynamic and mind-blowing. And also through conversations that I've had with them earlier now, like as in most recently, I should say, not earlier. So most recently, but this has taken me 20 years to get to this place of having a really good ability to communicate with them. So don't think that if you're just starting out, that you're supposed to be able to hear voices. I don't hear voices. It's not a clear voice like I have someone sitting next to me talking to me. So that's not something that I'm at. Some people might have that. If they do, great. I guess that would be better, but I don't know. But we'll get into that in a minute. I want to go back to explaining a little bit clearer about what this idea of spirit guides are. So, what I do know is that assigned at birth, um, once you are born and your soul has kind of tied itself in, um, that that you are assigned what you would probably call a guardian angel, um, or a specific kind of spirit security guard, I guess, if you're not comfortable with angels. But I kind of consider it like a guardian angel assignment, that one guide who is assigned specifically for your safety. Now, if you think about it, there's even been movies and this kind of stuff, right? If you think about it, we're in a crazy world. Anything can happen at any time. And generally speaking, we are assigned a specific timeline of when our death is. A death is usually it's already mapped out, right? Not to say that, as some people have discussed, there are times when you can, you know, you get a crossroad moment where you might want to choose to opt out earlier, but again, that's a whole other topic. Um, so you're usually destined a certain time frame. Now, your guardian angel's specific role is to make sure you make it to that timeline, that you don't get hit by a car, you don't end up in some horrible tragedy that was not destined for you, right? So this guardian angel is the kind that moves things out of the way, make sure you don't have a car accident here, does all these little ninja things that you aren't even aware of, that the close calls, the things that make sure you stay safe. The other thing is, so then your spirit team is kind of separate to your guardian angel, because that guardian angel's one role is that one role. Your spirit team are about your soul's purpose and helping you get to the achieve all the things that you put on your to-do list before you came into this body, right? So if you want to kind of imagine this architectural big, table, I always give this vision because it really helps to understand the process of, humanity, your soul's purpose, and how your spirit team really help you. Whether it's one or two, there might be times when there's only one, there might be times when there's four. It depends on what you have to learn this lifetime and what skills they have to help you through them. Okay. And like I said, that will change. You will have a tag team like, all right, that's it. You're out. I'm in. I'm teaching this, or I'm helping with this, or I have to get her through this part, whatever. So I'll give you this visual. Okay. So I want you to imagine this huge library of just wall to ceiling, floor to ceiling books, and they're ancient and they go back as far as the eye can see. Hallways, hallways, hallways. And in this beautiful, beautiful library is this kind of mezzanine level. And I don't know why I'm so specific, but this is kind of the vision that I got. This beautiful mezzanine level, and it's all kind of timber and marble and beautifully made and all very old. Um, and all in these books is kind of like the, Akashic records and all these things that humanity has done, and possibly all the things that all your soul life has done, and all the people around you and your family, and all those things. Anyway, then there's this big table, this big, beautiful architectural, like planning table, and on it is this map and all of your supportive friends and family around you, people, spirits and souls that you have done different lifetimes with, but not only other souls that you have done lifetimes with, but also other spirits and masters and ascendants and things that all invested in humanity doing the absolute best that it can, and that every soul that puts its hand up and says, please, can I go, has the best mapped out plan possible. And here on this big mapped out plan is where your soul is before, like what you've already done, right? All the lifetimes you've done, all the lessons you've already done. It also has all the baggage that you've accumulated, whether it's karmic, whether it's whatever, whatever, all the energies that you've still got with you because your soul is everlasting, right? So just because you died doesn't mean all your stuff dies with you because it's attached to your soul. They're your soul lessons. It's energetic. So all those energies that you still need to process, the lessons you haven't learned yet, are still there with you. So that's on the big list. And then all the stuff that you've already learned is on the list. All your skills, all your abilities, all the amazing things that you can do. And then it's like, okay, so what do you have to learn this lifetime over this period of time in this generation, in this consciousness, blah, 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 right? All the stuff. And let's map it out. How long are you going to live? Who are you going to get born into? What kind of experience, what kind of emotion do you need to really get hold of this lifetime? Like you just have to learn it. You have to be in this energy. And all your baggage and all your karma, you need to really want to get rid of that straight up. So to get rid of that, you probably want to do that in the first half of your life. And I'm probably speaking more so about what I know about my soul. So like I said, this is my experience, but this is many humans' experiences. I am not very different to most of you. So especially in this consciousness and all the things that we're learning, um, many people who have things to learn and lessons to teach have to have a fairly brutal kind of upbringing and really up and down emotional roller coaster ride, because you need to learn it all. You need to get rid of your baggage, and then you need to learn, and so that you're capable of expressing it as a healed being in the second half of your life. So this is the plan, right? This is the map that you have in front of you, and you have all your supporters, all your ancestors, everyone who is just completely behind you to say, all right, let's get the most out of this soul, right? Let's really make sure that they get to their goal. They learn all their stuff, and they do whatever purpose they have on the planet during that time. So it's all mapped out. And then it's kind of like, okay, so who's going to volunteer? Like, so you're going to be the human. Okay, so you're going to be human this time around. Awesome. Well done. Can't wait. It's going to be great. Awesome. So happy for you. Yay, everyone cheers. And then it's like, okay, so who wants to be mum? Who wants to be, blah, blah, blah. And you pick out all the family that you get born into. So you have to make sure that you're really narcissistic, okay? Because that's what I need to teach me boundaries, all this stuff. These are all probably other massive workshops. But it's like, I need to be in the opposite of what I need to learn to push me into the opposite. I need to be in a place of unworthiness so that I can learn how worthy I am without anybody else, all that kind of stuff. So that's all set up. And then you have, okay, who's going to guide you through all this? Who's going to guide you? Often they are, or some, so often they are guides that have been human before. There are specifically ones who have been human before that understand human language and what it's like to be human. It's really helpful to have a guide that you can call on that says, this human stuff is really hard. Can you please help me through this? Because as much as I get what my sole purpose is, I'm really struggling with being in all this muck, in this density, in this emotion, and I don't know how to release it. I don't know how to keep going. And that human guide, that spirit guide that was once human, can really help you remember that it's okay to be human, that you're not expected to be an ascended master and be, higher than all that. You are here to heal and you are here to feel, and that's part of the lesson. And that's always a good reminder from your spirit team. So then you may also, then you will also definitely have spirit guides who they've always been spirit guides. They're from that kind of spirit world. They speak of a higher consciousness. The way that they will communicate with you will be not in a human way, as in they will drop in thoughts and streams of consciousness, and you will have a different understanding. And the first question that comes up from people is, but how will I know the difference between if it's just my thought, my chatter, my idea, or them? And I always say, because a spirit guide will not talk to you the same way you talk to yourself. They're very calm. They're very short on words. They're very direct. They don't scream at you. They don't continuously banter you if you choose not to listen. They don't elevate, right, with anger or try and twist stuff to make you feel bad about not doing it. And if ever you've watched any of my entity videos, and if that's kind of going, yeah, I get that real. If I say no to something, then it's like it turns up the volume and starts getting nasty with me, and it starts getting cranky with me. Yeah, that that may be you. That may be just entities trying to get you to partake in something that's not good for you. It's definitely not your spirit guides, because they don't do that. They're more liable to step back if you're not really listening. They just keep repeating the same word in the same kind of tone, very quietly, very calmly. Um, Now, if that all just sounds like way too much to take in, I get it. Let's go back a minute. And I want to remind you that if this is all like a big deal for you to take in and think, oh my goodness, I've got these things following me around trying to help me. Well, yes, but I want you to remember that this is all completely with love and appreciation and adoration for how amazing you are. That's probably going to make you feel more uncomfortable. This is every human on earth is on a soul mission, right? Not everyone is destined to wake up. Not everyone is destined to fulfill some huge healing role, goal, whatever. Not everyone is destined to change into a different consciousness or change into a different frequency. And that's totally okay. There's no judgment in any of that. There's no better or worse. There's no we're doing well, they're not doing. It's nothing like that. And the spirit world don't see it like that either. So just like I was explaining to you, if you can imagine that everyone's had that opportunity to sit down with their architectural map of their soul's journey and where it's going and how exciting everyone is about what you're going to learn, because at the end, your soul's going to have learned so much more, no matter what, no matter where you get to on the map, even if you only get halfway and you're kind of stuck there and you're like, oh, well, there's no, it's only humans who criticize and judge, right? Your spirit team doesn't do that. It took me a long time to really appreciate that, that the judgment and the criticism that was going on in my head, or me thinking that they're standing over me with the clipboard going, oh my God, she's never going to get this. We told her about this. That's actually me. That's just me judging myself. They're not doing that at all. You actually have this amazing, beautiful cheer squad that are constantly got your back, as in not watching over your back. I mean, they constantly have your back. They're absolutely there, ready to show up and help you and guide you. And even if that help and guidance is purely just knowing that, or just a feeling of energy coming in to say, we're here, it's okay, we're here. You are not alone in this mission. You are not alone in this lifetime. And that has been some of the most helpful and compassionate things to me in the past when I have felt very alone. And whilst it doesn't change the fact that I might be still by myself in a room, the feeling of the energy and the feeling of, okay, this is all just part of it and it's okay and I'm okay. I hope that helps in a sense of understanding, the difference of um, if you have that idea of having something, there that you need to tune into, or I'm still having trouble believing that, so I'm just going to pretend that's not the way it is. That's totally okay. You actually don't offend them. You don't it's not like they turn their back and go, oh, well, we're not helping you if you don't believe us. Again, all human way of thinking. They will still be there for you. I used to get hung up on the idea that I was failing miserably, right? I'd be like, oh my gosh, they're gonna give up on me. They're gonna because I'm just so human. I can't get into this spiritual stuff. Like I can't not think of judging myself, or I can't not criticize myself, or I can't get over this perfectionism issue and all my shadowy stuff that when I was working through that big time. And what I realized was they said to me, once I kind of learnt things differently, they said to me, this is what is in the plan, though. Like the plan includes, because we've all, like, so many souls have done this, and you, meaning me, have done this so many times. You've done this human thing so many times that that you forget everything once you get there. And you have to struggle through the human identity, the human density process, identity and density. You have to struggle through that process of learning how to communicate, learning how to accept that there is this universal spiritual concept, learning all this and struggling with the backwards and forwards of the humanity and the brain set and the not believing and the not feeling and the I'm not getting it, and why don't I understand, and why can't I hear it? Why doesn't my meditation work? All that stuff. They know and they plan for that. That's all in the plan. And that really helped me too, to feel a little bit more like, oh, so it's not me failing. It's not me messing up the mission, right? Or my purpose or whatever. Um, this is part of it. Part of the plan is, well, remember, like if you're thinking of a business plan, what do? You work out what the challenges are going to be, right? So they do the same thing. Or you all do the same thing. It's like you go, well, what are the challenges going to be? Well, the challenge is going to be that you're going to be human. Like that's a big challenge because you're going to forget. You're going to think that you're just a human. You're not going to know about any of your spirit stuff or your soul stuff. You don't even realize you have a soul. Plus, for your path, you've chosen to go through an extremely, you know, strict religious upbringing. So you're going to have to get through all that and unpack all that and let all that religious world go, because that's not going to help you actually be spiritual or actually be connected. So you're going to have to unravel all that. So all of the challenges, your belief systems are all packed into your soul's architectural map that's laid out in front of you. And your spirit team know that. Your spirit guide, they know that. That's why they're there, because it's like once you get that we're here for you, we're here for you. We don't get cranky with you being human and walk away because you're being human, because that's why we're here, because you're human, right? We're here because we know that your challenge is remembering that you're not just human. So we're prepared to go through the fact that you might go through your entire life pretending that we don't exist, and we're okay with that. That's why it's so important to have a spirit team, one that understands humanity, but also spirits who have been watching humanity, that are in this other consciousness, who don't get hung up on emotions, right? One, there is no timeline on the other side. So they're not going, oh my gosh, we've been sitting here for 3 hours, or it's taken her 4 years. They don't have years, they don't have a timeline. So you don't have to worry about their impatience. Again, that's a humanity thing. You don't have to worry about their judgment, humanity thing. Criticism, don't do it. None of those things. Okay. Again, they're all your voices. And they're all your voices that you learned from someone else's voices, right? They're all patterns that would have been handed down to us. So, kind of allowing um, that idea in, that your spirit team are there to, they absolutely love and adore you. They're completely invested in your mission, in your goals, in your purpose, in your soul journey, in your lessons, whatever it is that you're here for. And they are always there to help. Now, again, universal rules, they cannot really jump in until you ask them to. Now, that doesn't mean that intuitively they won't drop in messages when it's good for you to go in some direction, or there's a job that you're meant to take, or a conversation you're meant to have with someone, or, as we've seen, the whole red flags flying, that they're trying to go, this isn't a good idea. But they won't be major, like wake you up in the middle of the night kind of stuff. Well, I mean, sorry, I shouldn't say that. Their messages to you will be whatever they need to be, depending on the situation and how big a diversion it has to be in your soul. So, what do I mean by that? Because I'm kind of contradicting myself, and I'm not meaning to. So, so on this, we'll go back to the map. We'll go back to the map, and on that map, there will be critical points where you need to go a certain direction. That I kind of, if you've ever done video gaming, it's kind of like one of those checkpoints that you need to get to, right? I used to do video gaming way back many years ago. I can't do them because I get too addicted to them, so I just don't do them at all. But yes, anyone who's done them or watched them or had a child who's done them, you might be aware that there are certain levels in video games, and you have to get to a checkpoint so that if you die after that, you'll go back to the checkpoint and not all the way to the beginning, right? That kind of stuff. It's kind of the same in your in your soul path. It's almost like, and in everyone listening, at some point you will have a moment in your life already, I would say. Might be here. I'm not suggesting it's my video. What I mean is this time in your life, um, that you will remember, and you think back and you go, wow, if I actually didn't do that then, I can't even imagine where I would have been. Like, that was a specific point, whether it be a marriage, whether it be a business that you started, whether it be a job that you took, or someone that you met, or a trip that you took. It'll be something quite, where you were like, do I do this? Do I not do this? And there was something where you just felt like you had to do it. That is usually what I would consider a checkpoint in your soul path, that took you on a specific direction and changed the way you thought about yourself or the world around you or whatever it was, right? So those kinds of things, that is when your spirit team will really be invested in making sure you kind of go a certain way that's really helpful for you. I know that contradicts the idea of that we always have a choice. I always get hung up on that. And we do always have a choice, right? But there are certain things that what will happen is life will just get really uncomfortable for you if you make a different choice. That's what I've learned. If you resist that version of you, that way, things will just get messy and awful, and your health will deteriorate, your stress levels will go through the roof, and you have to then check in and be like, what do I need to make change? What do I need to do differently? What do I need to let go of? What door do I need to shut? What thing do I need? What relationship do I need to end? All of the things, right? Um, okay, so that's about the checkpoints. The thing that I was going back to about how the universal law is that they can't really kind of step in and do things for you unless you specifically ask. It's kind of like um, it's kind of like saying, or even if you are in a relationship and you've made a choice, and then you're like, well, why didn't my guide just say don't do that? Because one, universal law is that's not how it works. You always have to ask for help. As in yourself, you have to ask, you have to initiate that conversation. But also, so and we're going to get into asking questions in a minute. But also, there's certain aspects of what lessons you need to learn, right? Because if you go back to that map that I said, and it has all the lessons, all the things, all the emotions that we need to achieve, we're we're doing this from a place of every emotion, even all the awful ones, pain, grief, um, anxiety, the whole bit. They're all things that the soul wants to experience at different levels, doesn't want to experience suffering. It wants to experience the emotions and the lessons involved in the emotions, um, because that's what builds up and expands the consciousness, right? That experience. And all knowing that love, unconditional love, heals all things. All the things that we're supposed to feel, um, hopefully trigger us into a loving state, into a love state or a feeling of love. That's the grand plan. Doesn't always work out that way, right? Again, probably another workshop conversation. So now what I want to talk to you about is the actual communicating with your spirit team. Again, please, this is my, version that I've put together from just experience and trying to learn the best I can. Some other teachers have told me their different ways. Sometimes I've collaborated and they've worked, and sometimes it hasn't. I've just kind of figured out my own way. I am not saying this is not the only way. There will many of you out there who are already communicating with spirit team or your spirit higher self or whatever. Have your own way. That's great. I'm not telling you to change it. This is really for people who have no clue. They're just starting out on this and they're like, I'm not sure if there is someone there. How do I know? Please give me a guide. So I'm just sharing this with you. I think the most important thing to do, so you don't have to bumble through the way that I did it, first of all, I think the most important thing to do for yourself as well as for them, it's definitely very helpful for them, is to, whether it's a space that you have somewhere that you can consider, if you don't already have like an altar space or a mesa table or some little meditation area that you keep as a sacred spot, I strongly suggest that you do that. That will definitely help for your spiritual growth and your own kind of ritual for saying, this is my quiet time. This is my time when I try to get out of my brain and whether it's meditate, whether it's just have some quiet time or be there to speak to your spirit team. Be any of those things, right? So in that space that you create, it might just be that you have a nice cloth or a nice little cushion or something. You can have a candle. Have a specific, if you're a real candle person and you have lots of candles, make sure you have one specific designated one, like my poor old thing here that's nearly ready for a new one. Um, Make sure you have a specific candle for your spirit guide conversation or your higher self conversation. When you want to tune into your intuition, make sure you have a special kind of way of saying, this is who I want to talk to. And you can do that by having a specific candle for that, which is what I highly recommend. Um, Also, if you have a crystal or if you have like a kind of pendulum kind of thing, that's a really good way to start, is to have a pendulum that is saying, this is because it's an energetic thing. So you're inviting them into your energy. Have a pendulum as a way to start communicating with them and know their presence. Um, or also, you can make yourself your own energetic kind of sponge and say, are you here, and see what you feel. You might be more of a feeling physical person. And that way you can invite them to say, show me that you're here, show me a yes, show me a no, and I'll get into that in a minute. So first of all, very important, just to set up a space that's your spot that you always go to. Now, if you're like me and you travel around a lot, as you'll probably notice, I'm always in a different space. I'm always in a different background because I'm a pet sitter. I travel around a lot. I don't have a home base. I'm always in different houses and in different places around the world. So you need to learn how to have a travel spot, how to set up things that are wherever this is. I have a special little cloth. So, I set my cloth up and I have certain crystals or stones and my candle and things and my pipe, all my shaman things. That is my traveling mesa table, right? So that's how I do that. And that might be what works for you. You don't need to have a grand, thing. So the other thing is throwing all of that stuff out. Your spirit team will also just show up wherever you need them to show up. I've been in situations where I've just really needed to tune into my spirit team. It can be in a busy airport. However, if you are not really experienced in talking to them clearly, if you're still struggling with it and you're only new, I will put a little asterisk and say it can be quite difficult to hear them and to get clear messages from them if you're in a really busy, high frequency place. And that's just because of frequency, right? So don't beat yourself up if you're not hearing from them in all the different places that you're at, or even first up. It does take a little bit to get the hang of it, okay? So you're in your space, and the first thing I'm going to recommend that you do is kind of just in your own mind. You don't have to say things out loud, but just try to get a clearing in your mind. So, I know that's virtually impossible for most people when it comes to not thinking about anything. That's not what I'm asking you to do. I'm not telling you to stop thinking, but just kind of a pause. Okay. So maybe if it's taking in a few deep breaths, closing your eyes, trying to get a bit of a center and quieten yourself down, kind of let the shoulders drop. Breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth, and just really centering, getting into your sit bones, really kind of grounding into the earth so that you're really present. You're in your body, but you're also trying to be very present in the space that you're at. And then what you're going to do is, you've lit your candle, you have your space, and you want to ask for your spirit team to come in. You might have some sage, Palo Santo. You might have something that you've cleared the space. If you don't have that, you can ask for some protection. You can ask to put yourself in a bubble, beautiful crystal ball, bubble. So any of those things. And what you're asking for is to speak to your spirit team or your guide, right? Just start with your spirit guide. And they will obviously hear you, but it's good to just kind of have that as a mantra. I'm just inviting my spirit guide. I want to commune with my spirit guide. And you can say this in your mind, but you're just saying it, not kind of chattery. You're kind of just saying it as a mantra. I only invite those who have my highest intention at heart. I only have those who have my highest good. I only have those who love me unconditionally. I only invite those who love me unconditionally, right? So you're also only inviting anything in that has your highest good, highest interest, right? Again, that's where your higher self, your intention, you're just opening that space to hear from any of those energies because it's just all the spirit world. They don't care what you call it. So now that you have kind of set your space and you've set the area and you have invited in your spirit guide or your spirit team, what you need to ask them for is to show you a yes. So you want to, so here's the thing, when you're communicating with your spirit team, when you're starting out, you really can only commune in kind of yes or no answers. Okay. So yes or no answers is because you're not going to be able to pick up on a conversation unless you, I mean, I'm talking to new people, so you might be a channeler, you're probably not watching this, right? You're channeling information, you have a whole different thing going on. So we're talking people who are just starting out and you just want to kind of pick up on indications of answers to things. So you're going for yes or no questions. So that means you have to get really clever at asking the questions. And that's probably what takes the most practice is how to word the question so they can answer it with a yes or no. Because there are some things that you are going to ask because we're all human that they specifically can't answer. And the can't answering thing will be because it's either something that they can't answer because of uh, consciousness may change the outcome. It might be a grand question that who knows, it could change 100 times. So there isn't a yes or no answer. Or they can't answer because it's actually something that you have to decide for yourself because it's part of your lesson. A perfect example of this are relationships. Most of the time, the thing that people want to ask the most is, especially if they're about to be in a relationship or they're about to end a relationship, is this person good for me? Well, if you think about, is this person good for me? That's a really vague question. Is this person good for me? Is in, are they going to teach me something about my, something that I'm here to learn in my soul lesson? Well, yes, they are. It's probably, it may not be what you think good for me is, right? Do you see what I'm saying? Um, because they could trigger everything in you and it could be what you would consider a terrible relationship, but it's actually taught you everything you needed to know about a relationship and it's part of your plan because this person was possibly contracted into you to teach you all these things. So if you just ask, is this person good for me? They're kind of like, it's kind of a weird question because yes, they are, but you're not gonna think, do you see what I'm saying? So they may just not, they would probably not answer that. They would just give you a no answer. So you're going to have to ask, show me a yes when you're talking to your spirit team. Show me a yes, show me a no, show me a I can't answer that for you. Um, you can also get to the next level and be kind of like, show me a I can't answer that because I have to, you can have different things, but stick with the really beginner basics. Okay. Show me a yes, show me a no, show me a I can't answer that. We can't answer that, right? Now, you can either do that physically with your body and have different areas where you feel energetically that they are expanding or contracting. So, some people who are very physical will feel a contraction. And I'm just saying, usually contraction is no, expansion is yes. That's the most common, but they can totally change it. All right. That's why you say, show me, because they might have a different way of doing things with you. And it might be determined on your energy level that you don't know about, but they have to work with, right? Because they're in the spirit world. So they have to work with your energy, not your physical. They have to work with your energy level. So it also may be that you become a pendulum, a physical pendulum. If you're sitting up properly on your hips and allow yourself to have kind of a pivot in your hips, then you might find that they start to kind of push you in different ways. You feel it. You can practice it yourself. If you just sit, but not kind of slouchy sit because you can't pivot then. If you sit with a straight back and just on your sit bones, maybe on the edge of your chair with your legs apart, and you kind of just sit there and you go, show me a yes, you can, like, I straight away get a push. because they're very invested in this workshop. So that's, I know you can be like, oh, you're doing that, but that's my energy pushing me to the side. And then it's show me a no, and I get an immediate release, and I'm actually going backwards. So if you you don't have to be like, it's not going to be like someone's pushed you. It will be a very gentle, energetic, you're kind of half resisting it, especially if I'm going backwards because you're like, oh, why am I going backwards? Right? Practice, test it out on yourself. Go for the it'll be little hints, especially if you're a beginner, because they're practicing with your energy field and we don't know how dense, we don't know where you're at, we don't know what frequency you're at, and all of those things matter. And then the other thing is, of course, is if you have a pendulum, you need to clear the pendulum first. If you've never worked with a pendulum before, you can do that with your flame. Ask the flame to cleanse the pyramid. Ask the ask the flame to cleanse of any energy, and you'll see that it will do that. That's not me doing that. That's the energy of the flame cleansing it. I'm just dropping it there. It's very hard to show that you're not making it move, because I know people are like, oh, the lady's just doing that. It's really weird. You have to do it for yourself, because the thing is, I can ask my spirit team to show me a yes, and I know that you'll be watching this and it starts to go around straight away, and then you'll be looking at my hand to see whether I'm actually making it do that, which I'm not. But it doesn't mean that my hand's not moving, because one, I'm holding my arm up in the air, so naturally it's going to move around a bit. But also because the energy, because my spirit team have pretty strong energy. See how they make that? They just made that stop then. Show me a no. See how it starts to go around exactly the opposite way, right? But if I wanted to do that with my hand, I would have to do this. And you can test that yourself. Get a pendulum and you try and make it move in specific circular ways without looking like your hand's moving. I'm not that clever. I'm really not. Show me I can't answer that now. Usually goes straight up and down. Yeah, see. Can you make it bigger? Circle, yeah. So that's like, even if I do it like this, it looks more like I'm doing it. Anyway, that has been very helpful to me to get started. And I carry this with me now, but I don't use it as much. They kind of are like, you're way beyond that. You don't have to do that anymore. But sometimes I do it as a double check, or sometimes I do it if I'm writing things in my book and I need topics done, and I'm like, is this a yes or is this a no? Is this a good thing or is this not a good thing? And they'll just straight up give me things. Or if I'm thinking about food that I need to eat energetically, I'll write down the food and then use the pendulum over the food. That's really helpful. Over the word, I mean, not the food. Or checking the energy of different things. I also use these in healings because these measure chakras really well. It's Pendulums are really, really good if you energetically connect to your pendulum, right? So this one is basically an extension of me. It's very me. And they are very connected to it. My spirit team are very connected to it. So it's very easy for them to communicate with me through this now, and through any things that I own. If you've asked a question that's very, very important to you, and you're like, all right, I really want to know that this is the thing that I'm doing, this is the answer, test it by asking 3 times. Because if you're being deceived by something that isn't in your space, the universal law is that it can't lie to you more than 3 times. So you ask the same thing 3 times, and you say, I'm asking once, I'm asking twice, I'm asking 3 times. And then if it changes on the third time, you know you were being deceived. It used to happen to me a lot in the early days when I didn't protect myself very well and I was not healed and I had lots of stuff trying to persuade me to do other things, but not very often these days. But I do check on big decisions. Now, I'm going to finish up here because I feel like I've been talking for a while now. it's a big topic. It's very helpful when you are embarking in new to the spirit world and to know that you have guidance with you all the time. Now, I want to tell you from my experience, I I make really big decisions based on my spirit team advice, and they have helped me in ways that would absolutely blow your mind when it comes to huge things that you don't think are changeable. Um, so things like moving house, being in America right now, doing this pet sitting thing and not owning anything, like to a lot of people, that's a very uncertain world. And not owning anything, not having any kind of place to call home is something that would disturb most people because we're raised and programmed to believe that we if we don't have anything, we don't aren't worth anything. And also for security reasons, like, what happens if whatever, whatever. But it's actually from guidance from my spirit team that I still do this. And I mean, I enjoy it. I'm not saying I don't enjoy it or I'm being forced to do it. But what I mean is, I always check in, and whatever their plan is, whatever my plan is of what I'm meant to be doing and how I'm meant to be doing it, I have complete and utter faith in the fact that I'm on the right plan and it will all unfold as it needs to unfold. And it does unfold. And I've been doing this for a really long time. It's 2018, 2016. I started, but 2018 more officially. So it's not like a short-term thing. I have been doing this for a very long time and it has been part of my soul path. It's taught me amazing things, but it's also given me incredible opportunities. Like I'm nothing that I could have even imagined is the value of being able to travel around the world and not have stuff to own or worry about that has tied me down. At some point in my life, I know that there will be an opportunity for me to have a place of my own. I know that. But I go with what my spirit team's advice is as far as where I go, when I go, all those kinds of things. I always have houses at the right time, at the right dates. Everything kind of just works. And that's because I have let go of the human construct of needing to have things in plan. And that has evolved because I didn't start that way, obviously. I was a huge control freak that needed to have everything lined up, right? I needed to know all the safety and security. But because I have learnt to communicate with them over time and I trust, I trust what they say to me. I trust that they do have my highest intention and they know the plan, right? That has allowed me to have faith in the divine forces of them. That's why I believe it's so important that people use this particular ability that we all have. Everyone has someone, right? Everyone has someone, whether it's an ancestor. And I brought up the someone, a family member who may have passed, because my dad and my great grandmother, my dad not for very long, he kind of hung around. I think he was just kind of mm, viewing, really, or just checking out what I was up to. But he was there for a while, which was lovely. I really, really appreciated him being there. But my great grandmother, she's a medicine woman. She's an Aboriginal medicine woman. She was my guide for a hell of a long time, getting me through probably from my in my 20s to right up through my plant medicine. She was there with me most of the time. Well, she was there with me all the time. It's just that teaching me and all those kinds of things. So she was a family member who I never met in this lifetime, but I knew of her very closely. I didn't know who she was when she first turned up, but then obviously grew to understand and know who she was. And she's kind of moved on now, but she pops back up now and then in different spaces. And I call her in every now and then. That's obviously a whole other thing. But I'm just saying that there are times when family members are your spirit guides. um, whew, I feel like I have thrown a lot of new stuff at you if this is new to you, and that might be a lot. Please, as I said, if you have questions, if I made it more confusing, if there are things that you would like me to go over more specifically, um, please let me know. Please put the questions in the comments. I am more than happy to, expand on things more. I mean, I could do a whole lesson on doing this, because it's not that it sounds like there's much to saying yes or no answers, but it's actually, like I said, it's actually learning to ask the questions properly so that they can give you a yes, because it's kind of like learning to use Chat GPT, really. You know how the better you ask the question, the better the answer can be, or the more clearer the answer can be. So that's the trick to it, really. And that's where you getting better at your relationship with them, at communicating with them, will make it easier. Please practice. Please give it a go. And also, please don't just give them one go and give up and think, I didn't hear anything, so I mustn't have one. That's absolutely not true. Everyone does. But also, it does take time. Oh, in closing, this is what I will say to help you in your practices. It's a bit like a radio station now. I just realized that's an old thing now, isn't it? Nobody listens to the radio. But if you have a radio station, you would know, even if you're young, you would have watched movies with a radio. And the frequency is off and it's all kind of, white noisy. Um, and you're on a different station, you're not going to be able to hear. You have to think of that. That's why we need to kind of try and use the breath and center ourselves and clear our mind. Because when our chatter is going on, they can be talking to us because they're talking to us on a different frequency and energetically. And it might just be yes, no, go, leave, turn right, whatever, like a GPS. They're very basic, soft, gentle words. But if we got the radio turned up and it's all carrying on, we can't hear it. Okay. So keep that in mind because it's just you trying to learn the frequency of them and they're trying to get through on the frequency to you. So you're just trying to collaborate in the message. So have patience, be kind to yourself, believe and trust that they are there. And also, if it's not working, you can say, can you turn it up? Can you try something different? I can't feel you. I can't hear you. Can we try something else? Like you're a team, work together. Let them know. I'm really trying. I can't hear anything. And it doesn't matter if you ask for validation. Can you validate that? Can you give me a sign that I really heard you then? That's what I used to do that all the time. And I used to think, oh my gosh, I'm driving them crazy because they've just validated it like three times. Yes, it was us. I'm like, okay, okay, thank you. Like, ask them to do that. Was that you that I just heard? Can you validate it for me? And it might be a sign of, little birdie jumps on your veranda and you're like, God, that's so cute. I don't know. It's different for everyone, but I'm sure you understand what I'm saying. Um, and like I said, write to me, ask me anything. I love talking about this. I love having people connect with their spirit team because it is the most valuable and helpful thing that you can do for your soul path. They're so wonderfully helpful. And I really hope that everyone gets that opportunity to talk to them. Whew. Thank you so much for listening. If you've made it to the end, you're wonderful. Mwah. I love you all for listening. Please say hi to your spirit team. They are very excited to be able to communicate with you. Subscribe, like, share, all those wonderful things. And I will see you next time. Bye.